popular and the political discourse. And here some question are to open. Rest about secularism. Then about the relationship with the religion, state and other institutions, faith or different about the religious communities are here. And what is the place of the individual? And what is the democratic values such as freedom and equality, about religions and ethical value? So here the main issue is the secularism. That is secularism in religion. Secularism in a society here implies the religious supremacy of a community does not lead to discriminations and prescriptions of the religious minority. Secularism कहले धर्म निरपेक्षता कौन सी रिलीजियन टा इंडिया रो रिलीजियन नुहे किंतु एवरी इंडिविजुअल्स दे कैन they can practice any religions, they can convert to any religion, से माने कौन सी religion convert भी करी पारिबे. आमे religious matter रे हमर independence अछि, आमे निज religion निजे प्रीच करी पारिबा, निजे practice करी पारिबा, किंतु अन्य लोक तार religion practice करिबारे आमे ताके केबे भी बाधा देई पारिबा नाही. किंतु हमर स्टेट रो कौन सी स्टेट religion नाही. Okay, so here the meanings of the secularism depending on the extent of the relationship that religions has with the attributes mentions that religions relationship with the religions, that is state and other institutions. माने religion सहित individual relations टा and state and different about the other institutions सहित relations टा कोन, individual of faith टा कोन, religious communities माने different about जेतु religious community अछंती से माने different about the religion गुडा से माने preach करी. So individual place टा कोठी. So what is the democratic value, the freedom and the equality about the religion and ethical values? So there are three meanings of the secularism according to different perspective. That here secularism means that equal respect of all religions, that is sarva dharma samabhava. Then we will interpret it in three perspectives. That is, one talks about the relationship between the religion and the state. Religion and state ro samparkota kono. That is, secondly, it is about the possibility or impossibility of applicability of the secularism in the India. धर्म निरपेक्षतार applicability India रे केमति हिसाब रे हेउछि. And the third, that equal values and total respects of to all religions, that is sarva dharma samabhava. It is the main gist of the secularism. So here democracy depends on pacification of the politics, that is peaceful competition or competition without violence. Peaceful competition and the competition भी होती, competition हो किंतु without violence competition. So here secularism is associated with the values which are linked with the democracy and the equal citizenship. Here one thinker, D. Smith, he said, secularism can prevail in a secular state. What is a secular state? D. Smith here says that the models in the India is a secular state. A secular state can identify by its dealing with three subjects. That is exclusion of the state in relationship between individual and the religions. State और religions भितरे, state और religions भितरे संपर्कटा अछि कि इंडिया रे नाही. It is a secular state. धर्म निरपेक्ष राष्ट्र अटे. There is that exclusion of the state in relationship between the individual and religions, that is religious liberty individual को प्रदान करा जायछि. The individual is free to preach and practice any type of the religions. And secondly होछि relationship between the individual and the state in which religion is excluded, that is individual as a citizen. And there is the state neutrality. Hardly state is neutral in the religious matter. State religious matter रे कोनोसी हस्तक्षेप करि पारबे नाही. So secularism Indian constitution रे कोन कहि दैछि. Indian constitution in the from the beginning of the Indian constitution the word secularism was not there. Later जेतबे Indian constitution commenced hela on 26 January 1951, at that time the word secularism was not there, It was entered by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment in 1976 later. Okay. So beside this, and after that, the word secularism become the basic features of the Indian Constitution. That is, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic. Apart from this, the provisions in the article that is fundamental rights, ଆମର ଯୋଉ part 3 ରେ ଅଛି, here from article 25 to 23, here it deals with the protecting the rights of the religious minorities in the constitution. Okay. तो आमे जेहेतु इंडिया जे सेकुलर कंट्री बोली करी कहबा, आमे ताको आंटी सेकुलरिज्म कहबा की anti secular कहबा की तरा गोटे डिबेट हेकरी अछि, like different of the argument they in the constituent assembly they suggest that actually they opposed that the notion that secularism will suggest separation between the religion and the state. There is separation between the religion and the state. To other members of the Constituent Assembly, they are also critical of both communal and the fundamentalist, that is Hindu Sabha. The fundamentalist aspect of the fundamentalist aspect of the religions are opposed by the secularists. So according to the advocates of the anti-secularism, here says that India is a religious society. To India is a religious society, religion and the state cannot be separated. Different type of the thinkers they said that to India is multi-religious to here there should not be separation of the religions and the state. So they consider the notions of the separation of the religion and the state as a Western notions. It is a Western concept which is not applicable to the religious society like India. So the roots of the secularism that it can be traced in the Indian tradition which have been tolerant. The main thing is secularism ta Indian tradition or tolerant. माने सहयोग करिबाटा. Secularism can be achieved by the equal respect for all religions, that is सर्व धर्म समभाव, सबु धर्म को समान भाव रे ट्रीट करा जाउची. राजीव भार्गव thinkers that he argues the notion of the secularism here needs to be reconceptualized or reimagined. So here he says that instead of focusing on the state church relationship in the following different about the aspects is the needed. So which are these aspects? Secularism should be focused on the response to the rich religious diversity. जेहेतु rich religious diversity अच्छी, तो तार answer टा होची secularism धर्म निरपेक्ष. So diversity must be understood when there is a power relation, that is the hidden potential of the relation, that is religions related domination must be understood. Thirdly, the two moves can be viewed that secularism as a response to the institutionalized religion, that is the intra and the inter-religious based dominations. One type of the fundamentalist. So secularism is not against religion. Secularism कहले हमें बुझिबानी against religions रे जाउनी, किंतु it is opposed to secularism कहले बुझा जाउची. Secularism is not against religion. Religions रा opposition एटा करू नाही, and it is opposed to the institutionalized religious based dominations. माने उटे institution रा religious रहू अब से domination करू ताकू से opposed करू. According to some other scholars, Smith and Thambia, they said that the secularism in India is facing crisis. There are the external and the internal factors. They are responsible for this crisis. External factors से कोइले breakdown of the Congress, increasing centralization of the power of the state, and secessionistic movement in 1980s, that is Punjab and the Kashmir, and implementation of the Mandal Commission report. And internal factors से कोई बोले totalizing worldview of which secularism is a part. That demand for equidistance which cannot be meant by the state, meant by any state. That is secularism କହିଲେ ଗୋଟେ institution ର କିଛି religions ଅଛି ସେଟା ଆମେ କେବେ କହି ପାରିବା ନାହିଁ ଯୋଉଟା କି ସର୍ବଧର୍ମ ସମଭାବକୁ ଆମେ secularism ହିସାବରେ ଟର୍ମ କରୁଛୁ କିଛି ଡାଉଟ୍ସ ପଚାର ଯଦି ଡାଉଟ୍ସ ଅଛି students, any problems, any doubts about this issue? any doubts
मैडम
about
एंटी
secularism?
सेकुलरिज्म जो
anti secularism କହିଲେ
हेलो
କଣ? ହଁ
आज्ञा
anti
हाँ मैम
secularism
से
କହିଲେ
एंटी सेकुलरिज्म
anti secularism କହିଲେ କଣ ପଚାରୁଛ?
आज्ञा
anti secularism କହିଲେ ଗୋଟେ religions କୁ totally ଜଣେ opposed କରୁଛି ତାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ anti secularism ଆମ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ସେମିତି ଅଛି କି ସେମିତି ନାହିଁ ମାନେ ଆମର ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ଯୋଉ secularism ଟା ଅଛି ସେଟା ହଉଛି ଧର୍ମ ନିରପେକ୍ଷ କୌଣସି ସବୁ ଧର୍ମକୁ ସମାନ ଭାବରେ ଭାବୁଛି କୌଣସି ଧର୍ମକୁ ବିରୋଧ କରାଯାଉ ନାହିଁ ତମେ କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ଧର୍ମ ବି ତମେ କୌଣସି ଧର୍ମ ତମେ adopt କରିପାର ତାକୁ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସ କରିପାର ପ୍ରିଚ କରିପାର ମାନେ କୌଣସି ଧର୍ମକୁ ତମେ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ବି କରିପାର ତାର ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ କନଭର୍ଜନ ବି କରିପାର କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଣ୍ଟି ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଯୋଉଟା ସେଟା ହଉଛି ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ କୁ ବିରୋଧ এই ଧର୍ମ ନିରପେକ୍ଷ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ୍ସ କୁ ବିରୋଧ କରାଯାଇ ପାରିବ ନାହିଁ କୌଣସି କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ that is ଯୋଉଟା କି କହୁଛନ୍ anti secularism are not opposed to the secularism as their secularism which suggest secularism କହିଲେ କଣ there is separation between the religion and the state that is not anti religions india को हमें anti religions बोली कहबा नहीं कारण सब religions को से समान भाबरे तार ट्रीटमेंट करूची माने से स्टेट और religions को सेपरेट थिंक करिक रखी जाईची हला anti secularism कहले secularism को जो माने विरोध करथि लेकिन secularism टा को विरोध ए जगह रे करिवार मत होची माने देयर शुड बी टू सम एक्सटेंट टॉलरेंट रहिबो गोटे religions को गोटे religions टॉलरेंट रहिबो माने सह्य जणे करि पारुथिबो ओके तो सेकुलरिज्म कैन बी अचीव्ड बाय इक्वल रेस्पेक्ट फॉर ऑल रिलीजन्स आउ सेकुलरिज्म रो तार ऑपोजिट टा हेजो एंटी सेकुलरिज्म ओके सेकुलरिज्म
आज्ञा
माने
मैम
सेकुलरिज्म कहले कोन धर्म निरपेक्षता कहले सब धर्म को तो मानकु सहिबा को पड़िबो माने स्टेट रो कोनोसी रिलीजन्स नाही जेमति कि पाकिस्तान रो देखता कहल इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ द पाकिस्तान हमर कोनोसी ऑफिशियल रिलीजन्स अछि कि इंडिया रो
नो मैम
इंडिया बोली तमे यदि मार देबो तमे नेट रे जागर कोनोसी ऑफिशियल रिलीजन्स को शो करूची कि नाही जेमति कि चाइना रो अछि डिफरेंट कंट्री रो ऑफिशियल रिलीजन्स रा अछि बडा हम कंट्री ऑफिशियल रिलीजन्स नाही सब रिलीजन्स माने समानता मान्य पाउछंती आ जो माने एंटी सेकुलरिज्म सेकुलरिस्ट प्रिंसिपल रो ओपोज रे रहिबे तो इंडिया रे सेटा हे पारिबनी आमे तार माने सब रिलीजन्स को आमे समान भाव रे देखु जे सर्वधर्म समभाव एंड टॉलरेंट ऑफ द एवरी रिलीजन्स टॉलरेंस टा रहिबो हला तो secularism and the religious group secularism and religious group secularism means absence of the influence of the religion secularism eta gote out meaning dekho secularism means the absence of the influence of the religions on the public policies different of the public policies जो बना जाउची सेतरे religious का influence रहिबो ना and social relations रे religions को हमें केबे भी आनिबा ना but it does not negate the religious system एतार means नुहे जे तमे religions को सब क्षेत्र रे negate करबो बात देबो नुहे what is this it is about how religion is the basic of the favor or discrimination that it is about the modernization and the modernity secularism must be collective normative project that is राजीव भार्गव कहि जाइछंती whereas secularism in Europe was not launched as a program of the collective action today secularism माने यूरोप रे जेमती it was not launched as a collective program like in Europe and using notion of the secularism Joya Chatterjee here he says that how that following partition एते बेले हमर इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान रो डिवीजन टा हेतिला that followed by the policy of the secularism which was partial that both got busy in the addressing the non religious issue of the partition affected the family. Then religious based partition ହେଇଥିଲା one type of ଗୋଟେ ହେଲା ହିନ୍ଦୁ majority country but ସେଟା ହଉଛି ପାକିସ୍ତାନ ଟା ଇସଲାମିକ majority country ନାଇଁ କି ତାଙ୍କର ଇସଲାମିକ ରିପବ୍ଲିକ ଅଫ ଦ ପାକିସ୍ତାନ ହେଲା କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆରେ ଯେହେତୁ ହିନ୍ଦୁ majority ଥିଲେ ବି ଏ ଜାଗାରେ ସବୁ ଧର୍ମର ଲୋକମାନେ ବସବାସ କରୁଛନ୍ତି that's why ସେଟାକୁ ଆମେ ସେକୁଲାର କଣ୍ଟ୍ରି ହିସାବରେ ନିଆଗଲା ଲେକିନ ସଡନଲି ସେକୁଲାର କଣ୍ଟ୍ରି କରାଯାଇ ନଥିଲା कि 1976 रे जाके 42nd कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट रे सेकुलरिज्म टाकू हमर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन रे स्थान दिया जाइतिला सो जेतु से पार्टीशन टाइम रे दे आर बिजी in addressing non-religious issue of the partition affected the family. So rehabilitation of the different refugees is the essential issue at that time. So however secularism taku seti pai semana कहउछन्ति it was partial, it was limited, it is secularism which did not permit lower parts of the state machinery. ଆଉ କିଛି ପଚାରିବ କି ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଉପରେ ପଚାର students any queries about secularism?
No, ma'am.
So then we'll move to the next unit, that is unit 10, that is communalism. Communalism କହିଲେ କ'ଣ संप्रदाय ଭିତରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହଉଛି ଆମେ ଜଣେ ନିଜର କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି କୁ ଏତେ ମାତ୍ରାରେ ଭଲ ପାଇବ ଯେ ଆଉ କାହା କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି କୁ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଅବାଉଟ ଦ କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି କୁ ସେ ଘୃଣା କରିବାକୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବ that is known as the communalism. So identity forms an important aspect of the life of the every individual of the group in the society. ସମସ୍ତେ ତାଙ୍କର ଆଇଡେଣ୍ଟିଟି ଟା ଖୋଜିଥାନ୍ତି ନିଜର ସ୍ୱତନ୍ତ୍ରତା. So in a diverse society like India there are the multiple factors that shape the identity. So such factors, that is culture factors, religious factor, language factor, custom, history, religion, and the economy, and so on. So in shaping the identity, the numbers of these factors are varied. They are different. The numbers and the effectiveness of this factor depends on the context in which the identities are the form. Different type of the identities that individual mane form koritanti. So this is true of the role of the religions also in shaping an identity. And India is a multi-religious society. That you know that everybody knows that India is a multi-religious society, and it is relevant to understand how religion shapes or helps in shaping identities of the people in building harmonious or conflictual relations, harmonious as well as conflictual relations between the people in there is existence of the different religious communities. So जेहेतु different about the religious communities टा अछंती ता भितरे individual केमती करी तार निजर हार्मोनी प्रतिष्ठा करि पारिबो हार्मोनी प्रतिष्ठा करूची कि different about the conflict को भी arise करूची. So here what is communalism? So ये क्षेत्र रे आमे जो communalism टा कहूछु, so what is this? Communalism is an ideology, ideology which shapes the vision of the members of the community and form on the basis of the common religions about themselves and other religions of the community, that is nationalization and nationalism and the state. Here, Bipin Chandra, in his book, India's Struggle for the Freedom, and here he underlined that communal ideology consists of three elements. The first elements underline the beliefs that people from similar religious community have similar secular interests, such as political, economics, and the social and cultural interests. And here the authors of this book term it as the first background of the communal ideology. It is the second element here. It says that the people belong from the different religious communities do not have common secular interest. And different religious communities of people माने जो अछंती तांकर common secular interest टा रहिबो नाही in the field of the social, economic, cultural and the political field. And the third element से कहि जाउछंती जे that is the third phase of the communalism. It shows a stage in which the relations between the different religious communities are seen as mutually incompatible. That is hostile and antagonistic. that is गोटे religions आ गोटे religions भितरे religious community जो अछंती से माने different type of the tolerant behavior करि पारु नाहंती. So communalism is linked to another aspect, that is communal violence in the society. So both are different and both are interrelated. Communalism is a consciousness, and when this consciousness gets expressed in terms of the violence, ଯେତେବେଳେ that is a consciousness, ଯେମିତି କି fundamentalism, that is a consciousness, ଯେମିତି କି it is a consciousness, and this consciousness gets expressed in terms of the violence between two different religious communities, then it is called the communal violence. Different religious communities do not become communal on their own. They are immersed violence automatically. So religious communities are turned into communal communities by certain sections of the society, that they are convert relations with such communities into communal riots. धीरे धीरे communal riots रूपरे देखा देई थाए. So such sections, this can be the political leaders or political activists, that is middle classes or community leaders, and here they explain to the members of their respective communities that the other community is responsible. माने जणे गुटे community आ गुटे community को responsible करि थाए for the violence and for different of the problems which are arising in the society due to the communal disorder or communal violence. So here, in certain politically suitable situation or context, they are able to mobilize their respective communities into communal violence. Here, there have been different approaches to the way of the communalism can be studied. First approach, empirical approach. Then empirical approach in which different communities, empirical approach re kon hobo, different communal riots were studied and general conclusion has been drawn. That is empirical approach. Different type of the communal riots to study kara jay kari lastly conclusion ta diya jibo. Then a large number of the scholars such as Amrita Basu, Paul Brass and Asutosh Bharsena, etc., they have followed this approach in their test of their theories. And second approach है materialistic approach. Materialistic approach re they underline the need to study the social and economic conditions. Second approach ସେମାନେ कोन study କରୁଛନ୍ତି, social conditions and economic conditions को study କରୁଛନ୍ତି, and the role and the nature of the state here also study, and the ideology to understand communalism. And in this approach, the incidents of the communal violence are studied. Different about the communal violence or incident गुड़ा कोई जगह रे study करूछंती, जेंति कि टी.एच. साहा, बिपिन चंद्र, अचिन भिनक, हला सी.पी. भंडारी, they followed all this approach. And third approach have been essentialist approach. Essentialist approach say communities are already seen in different and living across fault lines with separate identities. Different of the communities जो अछंती सेमाने separate type of the identities नेगरी गति करूछंती. Here Huntington, the American political scientist, is very elaborated or celebrated in his work, that is the clash of the civilization are present in the outline of this approach. Gute civilization out this civilization को clash करू. So where there is the origin of the communalism. Communalism रो origin टा को जगह रो आरंभ होई थिला. हमें किछि मात्रा जगह रे हिस्ट्री को नेगरी पढिमा माने ओवरलुक करबा. The communalism as a brief ideology has been product of the colonial rule in India. Colonial rule time ru communalism aspect origin heitla India re. So in this sense, that is the product of the modern times in the India. That time re kon heitla. There were a large number of the instances or example of intersect and intercult religious conflict and violence. But they are not communal in the sense that it can be understood as the mid of the 19th century. Communalism in India is largely the product of the colonial policies, then divide and rule policy. Bongo Bhango Andolana गुड़ाक से तार परे जो मुस्लिम लीग टा फॉर्म हेतिला, the Muslim to Reform Act, a different type of the act and the policy are founded by the British rule. That is here the challenges faced by the colonial rulers in the latter half of the later half of the 19th century become the response and all these are regions for them of the diverse policy, and all this leads to the communalism. Then the intelligent sections they of the society, the educated sections of the society gradually realized that the people of the India were suffering due to the colonial rules, that is ସେମାନେ ତାଙ୍କ religious communal and the caste identities ଟାକୁ ବାହାନା କରିକିରି ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ତାଙ୍କର ମୋଲ୍ଡ କରିକିରି କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ଆଣ୍ଡ କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ଭିତରେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶର୍ସ ଗୁଡାକ ସେମାନେ ଦଙ୍ଗା ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ଯଦି ତାଙ୍କର ରୁଲ ଟାକୁ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଙ୍ଗ କରିକିରି everlasting କରିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି. So the colonial authority here responded to all these challenges of the growing national consciousness that being generated by the effects of the new educated or intelligent sections of the society. यही जगह से जेहेतु ब्रिटिशर्स माने भी रियलाइज करले कि एजुकेटेड सेक्शन मानकर भितरे किसी कॉन्शियसनेस उदय हेबा को लागि जे से माने महसूस करि पारु छंती, माने महसूस करि पारु छंती कि they are communally exploited by the colonial rulers. So they did so by the following strategies, that is debunking the notions that Indians who had multiple diversity could be united as nations by creating a colonial knowledge, and here highlighting the differences among the people. ସେମାନେ people ମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କେମିତି differences ବଢି ପାରିବ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସେମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ବେଶ ଗୁଡାକ ତିଆରି କଲେ, ଯେମିତି କି ରିଲିଜିୟସ୍ କାଷ୍ଟ ଲାଙ୍ଗୁଏଜ କୁ ନେଇକରି କେମିତି କି ତାଙ୍କର ଭିତରେ ବେଶୀ ମାତ୍ରାରେ କନ୍ଦଳ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେବ, ସେଟା ସେମାନେ ଆରମ୍ଭ କଲେ କିଏ the Britishers ମାନେ. As a part of such knowledge, that is James Mills wrote the books of the history of the British India. He here wrote here that in this he argued that history of the India can be divided on the basis of the religions into three periods. That is ancient period, medieval period, and the modern period. Mill here argued that the ancient period in the Indian history that symbolized the India's golden period. Ancient period golden period when she was the when the she was or the state was ruled by the people. And medieval period the Muslim invaders they destroyed the glorious ancient Indian history and established Muslim rule. And in the modern period, this denoted the end of the Mughal rule and the establishment of the British rule in India. And such periodization of the Indian history here has been used by the communal historians and the colonial authorities to divide society on the communal lines. से जगह रे हमें माने communal lines रे माने society को divide करवा पाई चेष्टा आरंभ कर जाइले. So here, as most of the intelligence or the educated sections of the people at that time, they come from the upper class or upper sections of the Hindu society. Its growth and ideas could be shown to the detrimental to the interest of the Muslims by the Muslim intelligentsia and the traditional elites. That is, in the year 1987, Dr. Viceroy A. Colvin LT, governor of the UP, attacked Congress for the anti-imperialism. Said Ahmad, at that time, he joined the attack and thinking that, and Said Ahmad at that time, he joined in the attack and thinking that it would help in getting Muslims here in the administrative and the professional position increase. तांकर से जोग देवार कारण होची जे माने मे भी मुस्लिमान कर administrative and the professional position बढ़ी पारे एता द्वारा. So here he also believes that with the growth of the Hindu intelligentsia in the middle classes, the dominance of the Muslim declined. So the solution of the Muslim dominance lay in enabling the Muslims to get English education. At the time, semana maybe English education pai paribe. So for this purpose, he founded the Anglo-Mohammedan Anglo or Oriental College in 1875, which later became Aligarh Muslim University, OMU. Aligarh Muslim University re parinata hoitila. Okay. So here, meanwhile, a new Muslim middle class emerging at the time and later it led arrival witnesses and already Hindu middle classes in the year 1870s onward, and all these are quite vocal and anti-colonial in this approach. And later on, they also demands for the reservation of the jobs in educational institutions and other sectors by the middle classes. So this led to the formation of the Muslim League in the year 1906. We saw the active promoting by the British colonial government ଯେନ୍ତା କି ମୁସଲିମ ଲିଗ ଫର୍ମ ହେଲା ତାପରେ କମ୍ୟୁନାଲ ଲାଇନରେ ବଙ୍ଗଭଙ୍ଗ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ବଙ୍ଗକୁ ଡିଭିଜନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଆଉ ହିନ୍ଦୁ ମୁସଲିମ ଭିତରେ କନଫ୍ଲିକ୍ଟ and divide policy Britishers ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଦେଇଥିଲା and here different type of the communal violence at that time arose and କାହିଁକି ସବୁ ବ୍ରିଟିଶର୍ସ କରୁଥିଲେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶର୍ସ ଏସବୁ କରିବାର କାରଣ ହେଲା କି ସେ କେମିତି କରି ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ରୁଲ ଟାକୁ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରେନ୍ଥେନ୍ କରିବେ ନିଜ ନିଜ ଭିତରେ କଳହ କନ୍ଦଳ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରି କମ୍ୟୁନିଟି ଭିତରେ ସେମାନେ ଯଦି ଭାଓଲେନ୍ସ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିବେ ତ ନିଜ ନିଜ ଭାଓଲେନ୍ସ ରେ ସେମାନେ ଜଡିତ ହେଇକରି ରହିବେ ଆଉ ସେମାନେ ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ରୁଲକୁ କେମିତି ଓମିଟ୍ କରିବେ ତାର ଉପରେ ବେଶୀ ମାତ୍ରାରେ ଧ୍ୟାନ ଦେଇ ପାରିବେ ନାହିଁ so all these are different examples of the different type of the communal violence and the policy level intervention to divide the Indians on the communal lines included the introduction of a separate electorate. The time 1909 रे जेंती मल्ली मिंटो prefer the separate electorate. हिंदू माने अलगा इलेक्टोरेट रे वोट देबे मुस्लिम पीपल माने सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट रे वोट देबे ताको पई सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट रो व्यवस्था भी करा जायता so according to the policy of the separate electorate in the 1904 municipal elections Hindu and the Muslim they contested for separate constituency दुईटा separate constituency करा जायतिला जो जगह रे हिंदू and the Muslim माने separately वोट देबे where candidates and the electorate belong to the same religion so separate electorate are the political manifestation of the communal divide and from 1920s the demands for more representations in the council etc here also this needed to be widened and was popular participation of the people in 1920s here saw the Khilafat movement which was for the first time brought by that many Muslims into the larger political field this means that the seeds of the separate identity is based on the non-religious interest, but along with the religious line, it was planted. The colonial government here, they tried to fragment the movement by organizing roundtable conferences from 1930s to 32, 30, 31, 32. These are roundtable conferences in which representatives of all conceivable groups and different sectional interests were invited. So, in comparison to the Hindus, the right of the Muslim educated English was limited here. Educated Hindus and the Muslim, they competed for government jobs. It gave a feeling among some sections of the new elites or middle classes from both communities that because of the other community, they were not getting jobs and representation in the political institution. And different about the communities, the people mane political institution तांकर ठीक भाबरे तांकर jobs and representation पाई पारे. So the Hindus here viewed that their interests were antagonistic. Antagonistic mane clash with the Muslim interest and vice versa. So communalism, the secular interest of the different religious communities are antagonistic. Communalism to never secularism. That is antagonistic. The communalism in India grew between the late 20th century and the partitions of the country. ସେହି ଲାଇନ୍ ରେ जो ବ୍ରିଟିଶର୍ସ ମାନେ जो ମଞ୍ଜିଟା ବୁଣି ଯାଇଥିଲେ ସେଟା ବଢି ବଢିକରି ଧୀରେ ଆମର ଇଣ୍ଡିଆଟା ଡିଭାଇଡ୍ ହେଇଯାଇଥିଲା that is India and Pakistan that is different type of the feelings of communalism. आप किसी doubts रहला कि in type of the doubts any type of the doubts students if ଯଦି doubts ଅଛି
No,
ପଚାର
ma'am.
ନହେଲେ
I have no
next section
doubts.
କୁ ଆଗକୁ ଯିବା no doubts the doubts ନାହିଁ
No, ma'am.
ତ ବୁଝି ହଉଛି ତ communalism in the state level ରେ communalism ଟା କଣ ସବୁ ହେଇ ଚାଲିଛି that is ଏଇଟା ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ଲେଭେଲ କମ୍ୟୁନାଲିଜମ ଟା ଦେଖୁ କମ୍ୟୁନାଲିଜମ ଇନ୍ ଦ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ଲେଭେଲ କମ୍ୟୁନାଲ ଫିଲିଂ ଗୁଡାକ ଚାଲିଛି ତୁମେ ଦେଖି ଯାଇଥିବ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ ଦ ରାୟଟ୍ସ different of the riots ଗୁଡାକ ହେଇ ଚାଲିଛି the society the communalism often leads to the communal violence between different religious communities and here there are several examples of the religious based violence in the India that is communal violence and this type of the communal violence also results of the marginalizing the religious and the politics post independence time रे कोन हेतिला communalism has become a part of the competitive electoral politics it is a कोन part of the competitive electoral politics community को नेकरी से माने different of the elections रे communal politics हिसाब से काम करथला so according to K.N. Panikar से politics and the communalism has become complementary से कोन politics and the communalism has become complementary reinforcing each other in the post independence period state can devise policies which can either stop or encourage communalism state माने different about the policy करि पारंती जोरा कि communalism को encourage करे किबा stop करि पारे वा बंद करि पारे so it can also play partisan roles in the communal politics and the state can play an important role in the state in the spread of the communalism or the prevention of the communalism so the nature of the state's role on the communalism depends on the nature of the pressure of the social group जो social group गुड़ाक अच्छी तार nature उपु सेटा influence करि थाए and the composition of the personals in the state institution and the political context so the state functions under the pressure of the different social groups and the classes they include the different about the religious communities and different about the religious division society rohi assist in the state level and the policy was based on the preferential treatment and the discrimination so according to C.P. Bhandari they कही जाइछन्ति the post independence India inherited the legacy of the religious backwardness and the religious conflict so the state in India is placed in a paradoxical situation kono that is on the one hand it has to act through rules and the regulations through by the use of the new technology and on the other hand it has to deal with the society when symbols rituals different about the habits religious tendency religious regulation and religious mechanism they nekari bandhai kari achi so Indian state has the challenges of losing the totality if it is forbidden to be acting against the traditional practices that is Muslim personal law 1985 operation of the blue star 1984 that is in the democratic society such as India there is functioning of the different social forces in basing upon and following different type of the multiple religious ideologies and different type of the tendency including secularist and the communist so in the post independence period the Indian state has followed the strategy of managing conflicts of the operations and the cooperation it also compromises with the communalism and the casteism so exploiting classes have exploited the religious sentiments different about the classes man religious sentiments को exploit करी they try to legitimize the exploitations of the society तो ई जगह रे मीडिया रो रोल पड़ो communalism रे media in both its traditional and the newer form helps the help the ideologies and the ideas to spread the different type of the ideologies in the society. That is, in the rise of the public sphere by the Georgian Habermas thinkers in the context of the Europe, he says that the public association, club, public gatherings, and the later on the print media includes newspaper, novels, textbook. They have all helped to spread different ideas in the society. Brandick Anderson's he their example called these notions as imagined or communality or imagine communality as it has created because the spread of the imagined ideas of the nations by the print media since the 18th century onwards. So communalism in the India, jagare, here the media plays an influential role in the creation and the spread of the communalism. Media आजिकली जोड़ा व्हाट्सएप फेसबुक ट्विटर जुग तो गोटे जगह जो कम्युनल रायट स्टार फैला बिटवीन डिफरेंट कम्युनिटीज देन सेही मेसेज टा different type of the parts to world or different type of the parts to spread kori jai within a few minutes. So its roles become crucial in reporting, explaining, and the compensating the communal drives the violence about the regions for occurrence of the communal violence, the role of the leaders of the different communities and the politicians. So the print media newspaper, magazines, electronic media, television channels, social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, email. Media plays a important roles in generating the awareness among the people. I mean, go to awareness through the media. Okay. So on several occasions, it has contributed to the spread of the communal divide and communal violence in the country. That is, fake news गुड़ाक भी spread करा जाए गुड़ा ठीक गुड़ा बोल जाने के है so the spread in the recently the spread of the fake news has become quite frequent as these are helpful for communal माने जोटा कि communal tension को बढ़े देता है society में in so the social media for example has to reach with very few because media had and it also it is also not controlled through the censorship media को censorship द्वारा control करी है नहीं because India rate free होते and any news or information which may cause violence or antiguity among the different groups of the people that travel rapidly. किसी doubts अछि communalism पे? Any type of the doubts or queries?
No, ma'am.
अब गुटे announcement ये समझते ध्यान देके सुनो हमर क्लास टा केते 4टा रु 5टा थिला आगु शेड्यूल के थिला ना तो मते अन्य सेंटर रु ड्यूटी आसीथिला सेति पय से अन्य सेंटर क्लास टा सरी जाईची हम जो 4:30 रु करूचू 4टा आउ जो 2टा क्लास हमर रहिला नहीं कि
आज्ञा
समझते सुनो जो तो आउ जो 2टा क्लास रहिला सेही क्लास टा हमें 4टा रु करबा
आज्ञा
माने से मोर से जो आउ जो क्लास नोथली सेटा ऑलरेडी ओवर ही सारी ची जोटा 3:30 4:30 नोथली तो हमें जो 4:30 करी दउछु सेटा 4टा रु कले चलिबो कि कार किछि प्रॉब्लम अछि
हम 7टा रे कले ठीक है
हां 4टा रु करबा नेक्स्ट 2टा क्लास तुमे समझते ध्यान देकरी सुनो समझते सुनलो तो
आज्ञा आज्ञा
Yeah.
तो नेक्स्ट हमर जो अछि आउ 2टा क्लास सेटा हमें 4टा रु नेबा 4टा रु 5टा ओके
आज्ञा मैम
Okay.
ठीक अछि अब किछि डाउट्स
मैम मो कथा
कम्युनिकेशन हां कह
मु कहली मैम मो कथा सुगाउची आपनकु मु प्रश्न पचारथली आपन के रिप्लाई आसलानी
कोन प्रश्न पचारिथिलो
नहीं से चलियो मैम से आपन डिस्कशन तो कर दैछंती आउ चलेबो हे जाईछ बुझी परली
कहो कहार किछि डाउट्स अछि टाइम अछि कहो विचार
ना मु चेक करथली कि ये गूगल मीट टा काम करूची ना नहीं सेति पे आपन एटा प्रश्न पचारली मु बारंबार मझरे कहउतल त आपन किछि रिप्लाई आसनथला मु चेक कर
सुना जायनी गुते
अच्छा
एबे
ठीक
तुमको
चलियो
सुना
मैम
जाउची तो एबे सुना जाउची तो
आज्ञा आज्ञा
हां
आज्ञा
पढ़ाटा सुना गला कि नहीं
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା 4ଟା ରୁ 5ଟା ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ସେଇଟା ବି ସୁଗାଲା ଆଉ କ୍ଲାସଟା ବି ସୁଗାଲା।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ଓ ସେଇଟା ଖାଲି ଶୁଣା ଯାଇ ନଥିଲା। ଆଚ୍ଛା ଠିକ ଅଛି ତ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
କମ୍ୟୁନାଲିଜମ ଉପରେ କିଛି ଡିସ୍କସନ କର କାହାର କିଛି ଡାଉଟ୍ସ।
ମୋର ଟିକେ ସେ ଡାଉଟ ଟା ଥିଲା ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ରିଲିଜିୟନ ଟା ଆଉ ତାପରେ ଯୋଉ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ଟା ଆପଣ ପ୍ରଥମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଇଏ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି କି ସେଇଟା ଅଲଗା ସେପାରେଟ ଯିବେ ସେମାନେ ଇଣ୍ଟରକନେକ୍ଟେଡ ହେଇପାରିବେନି। ସେକ୍ୟୁଲାରିଜିମ ଅଲଗା ରିଲିଜିୟନ ହଉଛି ଅଲଗା ତାପରେ ଆଣ୍ଟି ସେକ୍ୟୁଲାରିଜିମ ଆସୁଛି ଡିବେଟ ହଉଛି ସେପರೆ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ଆଉ ତାପରେ ଆମର ହଉଛି ସେକ୍ୟୁଲାରିଜିମ ସେମାନେ ଯାହାହେଲେ ଇଣ୍ଟରକନେକ୍ଟେଡ ହେବେ। ତାପରେ ପୁଣି ଆଉ କିଛି ନୂଆ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନସ ଆସୁଛି ସିଏ ପୁଣି ଅଲଗା। ମୁଁ ଏଇଠି ଯୋଉ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଡିକ୍ସନ ଟା ମ୍ୟାମ ଟିକେ ବୁଝିବା କିଛି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ପୁଣି ଆଣ୍ଟି ସେକୁଲାରିଜିମ ଇଏ ଠିକ ସେ ବୁଝିପାରୁନି ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ। ମାନେ ଆମର
ମାନେ ଏଇଟା
ସମ୍ବିଧାନ ଟା ହିଁ
ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ
ନିଜେ
ଦ ଶୁଣ
କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଡିକ୍ଟ କରୁଛି।
ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଦ ଏନାଲାଇସିସ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଥିଙ୍କର ଗୁଡାକ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଦ ଏନାଲାଇସିସ କରିଛନ୍ତି ସେଇଟା ଗୁଡାକ ମାନେ ବୁଝିପାରୁଛ ତ ମାନେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଯୋଉଟା ମୁଁ କହୁଛି ସେଟା ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ମାନେ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ଭିଉ ଗୁଡାକ ତମର ଏ ବହିରେ ବେଶୀ କରି ଅଛି ଭ୍ୟୁଜ ଅଫ ଦ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଥିଙ୍କର୍ସ ମାନେ
ଆଉ ବୋଧେ
ଯେମିତି କି
ଏଇଟା ବି
କିଏ
କହୁଛି କି
କିଏ ଟୋଟାଲ
ପ୍ରିଆମ୍ବଲ ରେ
ଯେମିତି କି ହଁ ପ୍ରିଏମ୍ବୁଲ ରେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଟୋଟାଲି ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଟା ପ୍ଲେସ ପାଇ ନଥିଲା ଆରମ୍ଭରୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
1942 ରେ ସରି 42nd କନଷ୍ଟିଟ୍ୟୁସନାଲ ଆମେଣ୍ଡମେଣ୍ଟ ରେ 1976 ରେ ତମର
ହୁଁ
42nd କନଷ୍ଟିଟ୍ୟୁସନାଲ ଆମେଣ୍ଡମେଣ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ହେଲା ସେ ଜାଗାରେ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟ ସେ ସାରିଲା ପରେ ସେମାନେ କହିଲେ ଯେ ନାଇଁ ଆମେ ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଟା ପ୍ଲେସ ଦେବା ଆଟ ଦ ଟାଇମ ସେଇ ଆମେଣ୍ଡମେଣ୍ଟ ରେ ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଟା ଗୋଟେ ବେସିକ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ୍ସ ହେଇକରି ତାପରେ ଆସିଲା ଆଉ ସେକୁଲାରିଜମ ଟା ଯେମିତି କି ଆମର there is separation of the religions and the politics ଆଉ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ କଣ୍ଟେଷ୍ଟ ରେ କେତେ ଲୋକ ଡିବେଟ କଲେ ଯେ there should not be separation of the religions and the politics because India is a multi-diverse and multicultural country ବହୁତ ସାरे ରିଲିଜିଅନ ଲୋକ ଯେହେତୁ ଅଛନ୍ତି କିଛି ଷ୍ଟେଟ ରିଲିଜିଅନ ରହିବା କଥା କିନ୍ତୁ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଷ୍ଟେଟ ରିଲିଜିଅନ ରହିବ according to different thinkers ସେମାନେ କହିଲେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ର ରିଲିଜିଅନ ଯଦି ରହିବ ତ ଅଦର ଗୋଟେ ରିଲିଜିଅନ ତ ରହିବ ତ ବାକି ରିଲିଜିଅନ ଲୋକମାନେ କଣ ତାଙ୍କୁ କମ୍ୟୁନାଲ ମାନେ ଫିଲିଙ୍ଗସ ହବ କି ନାଇଁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଧର୍ମ ନିରପେକ୍ଷ ରହିଛି ନା ମୁଁ କୌଣସି ଫିଲକୁ ଟଚ କରିବିନି
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଦିସ୍ ମିନ୍ସ ଆମେ କହିବା ନାହିଁ ଯେ ଏଇଟା ଆଣ୍ଟି ରିଲିଜିଅସ ବୋଲିକରି ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ ତବେ ଆମକୁ ରିଲିଜିୟସ କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ବହୁତ ଫ୍ରିଡମ ମିଳୁଛି ତମେ କୌଣସି ରିଲିଜିଅନ୍ସ କୁ ବିଚ୍ କରିପାରିବ ମାନେ ତମ ଟ୍ୟାକ୍ସ କୌଣସି ରିଲିଜିଅନ ତମେ ବ୍ରିଚ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଟ୍ୟାକ୍ସ ଦଉଛ କି ତମେ ଟ୍ୟାକ୍ସ ବି ଦଉନ କୌଣସି ରିଲିଜନ ଆରାମସେ କନଭର୍ଟ ବି କରିପାରିବ ତମେ ଯଦି ସାଟିସଫାଏ ନୁହଁ ସେଇ ରିଲିଜନ୍ସ ରେ ତମେ କୌଣସି ମନ୍ଦିର ତମେ ମସଜିଦ ଟେମ୍ପୁଲ ଆରାମସେ ତମେ ବନେଇ ପାରିବ ତମ ସେଥିରେ କିଛି ରେଷ୍ଟ୍ରିକସନ ନାହିଁ କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଟ ପାଇଁ ତମକୁ ଗଭର୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ମାନେ ନିଜର ଷ୍ଟେଟ କି ନିଜ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ କିଏ ଫଣ୍ଡ ଦେବେନି ନିଜ ଫଣ୍ଡ ରୁ ତମେ ବନେଇ ପାରୁଛ ଲୋକେ ବନଉଛନ୍ତି କି ନାଇଁ କିନ୍ତୁ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ର ସ୍ଥାନ ଟା ରହିବ ନାହିଁ କେମିତି ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ଇନଷ୍ଟିଟ୍ୟୁସନ ମୁସଲିମ ଏଜୁକେସନାଲ ଇନଷ୍ଟିଟ୍ୟୁସନ ମଦ୍ରାସା ବି ଅଛି ଏବେ
ତ
ଅଛି କି ନାଇଁ
ମ୍ୟାମ ପୁଣି ଆପଣ ଇଏ ଯୋଉ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ମୁସଲିମ ପର୍ସନାଲ ଲ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ପୁଣି ଆପଣ କେମିତି ଜଷ୍ଟିଫାଇ କରିବେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ମୋଦି ରିସେଣ୍ଟଲି ଆନାଉନ୍ସ କଲେ କି ଯୋଉ ତାଙ୍କର ଫୋନ ରେ ମେସେଜ ରେ ତାଙ୍କର ମୁସଲିମ ହଜବେଣ୍ଡ ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ତଲାକ କହିଦେଲେ ତଲାକ ହେଇଯାଉଛି ତାକୁ ଏମାନେ ରିଭର୍ସ କରିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି ତାପରେ ଆଉ ବି କେତେଟା ଜିନିଷ ଅଛି ମୁସଲିମ ଲ ରେ ତେଣୁ ଏ ଜିନିଷରେ ଆପଣ କେମିତି ଡିଫେଣ୍ଡ କରିବେ
କଣ ଡିଫାଇନ କୋଉ ହିସାବରେ ସେକୁଲାର
ଅ,
ପୋଲିସି ହିସାବରେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଶୁଣ ସେଇ ହିସାବରେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ର କଣ ରୋଲ ରହିଲା ମାନେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଭିଜୁଆଲ ସେ ଯୋଉ କହିଲ ଏକର୍ଡିଂ ଟୁ ମାନେ ମୁଁ ମୋର କଥା କହୁଛି କି ତାର ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ସେଟା କୋଉ ହିସାବରେ ରିଲିଜିଅସ ହିସାବରେ କିନ୍ତୁ ୱାନ ଟାଇପ ଅଫ ଦ ଇନଜଷ୍ଟିସ ହଉଛି ସୋସାଇଟି କୁ ସେ ଯୋଉ ଗୋଟେ ମୁସଲିମ ଓମେନ କୁ ଯଦି ତଲାକ କହି ଦିଆଗଲା ତାର ତଲାକ ହେଇଗଲା ଏଇ ଜାଗାରେ ଜଷ୍ଟିସ ଅଛି କି
ନାହିଁ
ମାନେ
ସେମିତି
ରିଲିଜିୟସ
ଦେଖିବାକୁ ଗଲେ
ମେଟରକୁ ସେଟା ରଖ ରିଲିଜିୟସ ମେଟରକୁ ରଖ ହ୍ୟୁମାନ ରାଇଟ୍ସ କନସେପ୍ଟ କୁ ଆସ ଭାଓଲେନ୍ସ କନସେପ୍ଟ କୁ ଆସ
ସେଇଟା ତ ହେଲେ ନାହିଁ
ଜଷ୍ଟ କହିଦେଲା ସେଇଟା ରିଲିଜିୟସ ଇସ୍ୟୁରେ ଆମେ ଇଣ୍ଟରଫିୟର କରିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ ହଁ କହୁଛେ କିନ୍ତୁ ତମେ କୌଣସି ଭାଉଲେସନ ଶିଶୁରେ ଇଣ୍ଟରଫେୟାର କରିପାରିବ କି ନାଇଁ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ଟା କରିପାରିବ କି ନାଇଁ କୌଣସି ଟାଇପ ଭାଉଲେନ୍ସ ହେଲା ଆରେ ଜଣେ ତମେ କହିଦବ ଅର୍ଟର କରିଦବ ଜଣେ ମୁହଁରେ ତାର ଡିଭୋର୍ସ ହେଇଗଲା ୱିଥଆଉଟ ଏନି ମେଣ୍ଟେନାନ୍ସ ସେଟା କେତେ ମାତ୍ରାରେ ଜଷ୍ଟିଫାଏଡ ଆଉ ସେଟା ରିଭର୍ସ କରିବାକୁ ସେମାନେ ଯେହେତୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିଛନ୍ତି ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ଏ ଭେରି ଗୁଡ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ୍ସ
ଓକେ ମୁଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କର
ବୁଝିପାରୁଛ
ଓପିନିଅନ
ତ
ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲି ଆଜ୍ଞା
ହଁ 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 मते तार माने रिलीजियस मैटर रिलीजियस तमे कुछ पूजा करबा को जाउछो ताकू तमे स्टेट बाधा दे पारिबो नाही बुझी पारुछो
ଆଜ୍ଞା
किंतु इनजस्टिस जदि किछि मात्रा रे जदि लागुची तो सेटा सुप्रीम कोर्ट कि हमर स्टेट मेशनरी कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट मेशनरी से माने तो भायोलेट करिबारे सोटी सेटा किछि इनजस्टिस मते लागुनी मानव अधिकार उल्लंघन कि कोन से आगारे क्राइम हला भलिया लागुची सेथिरे किछि हस्तक्षेप कले सेटा इनजस्टिस कहा जाई पारिबो नाही
ओके मैम थैंक यू
और एनी क्वेरीज
मैम जने चाहिले ता रिलीजन चेंज कर परबो कि नहीं
करि पारिबो कन्वर्ट करि पारिबो जते थरो चाहबो करि पारिबो
मैम केमिति
दैट इज योर फ्रीडम केमिति सेटा से रिलीजियस कम्युनिटीज वाले जानिथिबे नहीं कि जदि गोटे रिलीजन रे अछ आ गोटे रिलीजन तमे चेंज करबा को चाहबो सेटा अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट रिलीजन यू कैन कन्वर्ट योरसेल्फ ओ फार्मूला रे कन्वर्जन होउची तमे जो रिलीजन कन्वर्ट माने जीवा को चाहछो से माने
मस्जिद रे
बेटर
इमाम कर देबे
नहीं कि
मैरेज कला परे भी काको गोटे रिलीजन चेंज हे जिवो
मैरेज कला परे सेटा अकॉर्डिंग टू योर ओन विशेस
जदि जने लेडीज माने जने झियो अन्य
नहीं
रिलीजन को
कन्वर्ट सेटा अलगा तमे मैरेज विषय जो कहूछ सेटा अलगा तमे मैरेज न करी कि भी तमे रिलीजन चेंज करि पारिबो
आज्ञा सेमति भी होउची बहुत
हाँ
करूछ
हाँ 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 कन्वर्जन ही पारिबो सेटा हुए ना माने जेमति कि माने गोटे रिलीजन आ गोटे रिलीजन कन्वर्जन हे पारिबो खाली मैरेज नहीं तार अन्य विशेष रे भी हे पारिबो अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर रिलीजन ताको रिलीजन से कोन से पंथा गुडा कोची से माने सेटा करि कन्वर्जन करि पारिबो
किंतु केही धर्म काहाकू माने कहार जो आमर अधिकार रही ताको क्षुण्ण करे नाही तेणु तो सब धर्म समान को धर्म कन्वर्ट करिया कथा भी नहीं
परिवर्तन करबा कथा नहे कहलो
परिवर्तन माने जे चाहिबो से करि परिबो न
हाँ जे
कले भी
चाहिबो से करिबो जे चाहिबो से करिबो जे न चाहिबो ताको किछि माने कि बाधा दे पारिबे नाही से जते को रहइबो
आ गोटे कथा होची हमर सब धर्म समान तेणु केही धर्म को रिलीजन को माने जो अधिकार मानवीय अधिकार रही तो पूर्ण हो नाही तेणु तो गोटे रिलीजन रहिले भी किसी असुविधा नहीं चेंज करले भी किसी असुविधा नहीं
किछि असुविधा नाही हो फ्रीडम ऑफ द रिलीजियस माने तुमे कोनोसी फ्रीडम ऑफ द रिलीजन हमर अछि ना तुमे कोनोसी रिलीजन तुमे नहीं पारो कोनोसी टेंपल बिल्ड करि पारो मस्जिद बिल्ड करि पारो लेकिन टैक्सेशन तमे देबा को पड़िबोनी सेटा माने गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स देबा जेमति कि मुस्लिम रूल टाइम रे जिजिया करो तीर्थ यात्री करो गुडा को सब थिला ना सेमति एबे अछि कि
नहीं
से सब नाही
मैम ମୁଁ ଖାଲି ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲି ଆମର ଯୋଉ ସେमेस्टर एग्जाम ହବ एंड को ହବ ଜୁନ ଜୁଲାଇ କି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଯେତିକି ମटेरियल ଆପଣ ଫଲୋ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ସେଇ ମटेरियल ମୋ ପାଖରେ ବି ଅଛି ମୁଁ ସେୟାକୁ ସଫିସିଏंଟ ହବ ନା ମୁଁ କିଛି ବହି କିଣିବି ଆପଣ ସଜେस्ट କରିବେ
तुमे पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस इन इंडिया ऊपरे माने तमर मटेरियल रु तो मु पढौची आ गुटे बही आमे माने +3 छुआ को पढौ पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेसेस इन इंडिया बाय के घाई कल्याणी पब्लिशर रो भल
के
अछि
के
सेटा
घाई
हां
କଲ୍ୟାଣୀର ନାଇଁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବହି
माने
ନାଁଟା
आ
ଆଉ
टिके
ଟିକେ
जेमते जेमते कम्युनालिज्म ऊपरे जो देछि टिके नेरो ही बही रे देछि ना से बही रे टिके भल देछि जेंते रेमेडीज अगेंस्ट कम्युनालिज्म रेमेडीज टा कोन देछि तार डिफरेंट अबाउट द फैक्टर्स भी देछि तमे तमे
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବହି
से बहीटा
ଟାଇଟେଲଟା
पॉलिटिकल
ଆଉଥରେ କହିଲେ ଟିକେ ବହି ଟାଇଟେଲଟା ଆଉଥରେ କହିଲେ ଟିକେ
एटा होछि पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेसेस इन इंडिया देखा जाउछि
ଆଜ୍ଞା थैंक यू मैम
पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेसेस इन पुराना बहीटा लेकिन नुआ वर्जन भी आସୁछि
ଆଜ୍ଞା
के घाई
के घाई आଜ୍ଞା
कल्याणी पब्लिशर्स रा कल्याणी टिके एलाबोरेटली देछि तबे पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस इन इंडिया रे जहां इग्नोर जो मटेरियल गुडा अछि एटा आ टिके एलाबोरेट करके देछि
ओके
बुझा
मैम
माने बुझा
थैंक
दिबो
यू
माने क्लियर कांसेप्ट अछि जेंति कॉजेस रेमेडीज ऑफ द कम्युनालिज्म ए जगह रे अछि कोन सब रेमेडीज गुडा को भी देछि ए जगह रे रिफॉर्म्स
ଆଜ୍ଞା
इन द
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
एजुकेशनल सिस्टम एटा गुडा को ए वेल डायरेक्टेड सोशलाइजेशन प्रोसेस आ टिके भल करी लेखि पारिबो तमर आंसर डाकू
ଆଜ୍ଞା
हां
थैंक यू
ए
मैम
बहीटा तमे माने किनि पारिबो पॉलिटिकल
ଆଜ୍ଞା
प्रोसेसेस इन इंडिया बाय के घाई
ଆଜ୍ଞା
हाँ
थैंक यू मैम
ଆମକୁ ଯୋଉ ବହି ମିଳିଛି ସେଇଥିରେ ବି ତ ସେଇଗୁଡା ପଢିଲେ ବି ତ ଚଳିବ, କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ।
ନାଇଁ ଚଳିବ କିନ୍ତୁ ତମେ ଯଦି ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଭଲ କରି ଚାହୁଁଛ, ସେ +3 ରେ ବି ଗୋଟେ କୋର୍ସଟେ ଅଛି ସେଟା, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସେ ପଚାରିଲେ ତ ସେଥିପାଇଁ କହିଦେଲି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା, ଏଇ ଫର୍ମ ଫିଲଅପ ତ ଆମର ହେଇନାହିଁ ନା, ଆମର ତ
ଫର୍ମ
ମେସେଜ
ଫିଲଅପ ତମେ ରିଜନାଲ ସେଣ୍ଟରରେ ପଚାରିବ ସେ କଥା ହେଲା, ତମେ ଯୋଉ ସେଣ୍ଟର ଆଡମିସନ କରେଇଛ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ସେଇ କଥା ସେମାନେ ବେଟର କରି କହିପାରିବେ।
କହିଲେ
ଉପରେ
କି
ହେଲା
ମେସେଜ ଆସିବ ବୋଲି, ଏପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ମେସେଜ ଆସିନାହିଁ।
ପଚାରିବ, ଫୋନ କରିକି ପଚାରିବ ସେ ସେଣ୍ଟରରେ, ସେମାନେ ଟିକେ ବେଟର କହିପାରିବେ ସେ ଇନଫରମେସନ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ମ୍ୟାମ BS-171 କ୍ଲାସ ଟା ଯୋଉ 7 ରୁ 8 ହଉଥିଲା, ସେଟା ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ତ ଜଏନ ହଉନି ଯେ ମ୍ୟାମ।
କୋଉ କ୍ଲାସ?
ଗୋଟେ BSOG-171 ଗୋଟେ କୋର୍ସ ଟା ଆମର।
ସକାଳୁ ହଉଥିଲା?
ନା ମ୍ୟାମ, ଏଇ ରାତି 7ଟା ରୁ 8ଟା ଯୋଉ ହେଇଥିଲା। ସେଠି ଜଏନ ଯୋଉ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି, ସେ ଲିଙ୍କ ରେ ଜଏନ ହଉନି।
ତମେ ସେଇ ଫୋନ ନମ୍ବର ଥିବ ସେଇଠି, ସେ ଯୋଉ କୋର୍ସ ଯିଏ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତାଙ୍କୁ ଫୋନ କରିବ ସେ ଟାଇମରେ ହେଲା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ସେମାନେ ସେଟା ବେଟର କହିପାରିବେ ସେ ଟାଇମ କଥା। ଓକେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
or any types of the problems, any type of the queries, ଆଉ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ୍ଲାସ ଆମେ 4ଟା ରୁ କରିବା ଦେଖ। ପୁଣି ଫେର ଭୁଲିଯିବନି, 4ଟା ରୁ ହିଁ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ୍ଲାସ କରିବା। ଓକେ।
ଓକେ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଓକେ, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ।
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ମ୍ୟାମ୍।
ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ମ୍ୟାମ।
ମୋର ଟିକେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ଥିଲା, ଏ ଦିଟା କ୍ଲାସ ଛଡା ଆଉ କିଛି ଅଲଗା କ୍ଲାସ ହଉଛି କି ପିଲେ?
ମୁଁ ତ ଜାଣିପାରୁନି, ମୋର ସେମିତି କିଛି ଲିଙ୍କ ନାହିଁ, ମୁଁ ଜମା ଜାଣିପାରୁନାହିଁ ଆଉ କ୍ଲାସ ହଉଛି କି ନାଇଁ। ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଏଇ ସାରଙ୍କର ଆଉ ଏଇ ମ୍ୟାଡାମଙ୍କର ଯାହା ରହୁଛି ସେଇଥିରେ ମୁଁ କରୁଛି। ଆର ଲିଙ୍କ ତ ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଲିଙ୍କ ବି ନାହିଁ।
ନା
ଲିଙ୍କ
ଏ
ଯୋଉ
ଦିଟା ହିଁ
ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି
ମୁଁ ବି
ସେ
କରୁଛି।
ଲିଙ୍କରେ ହଉନି। ଗୋଟେ BSOG ଆମର 171 ଅଛି ନା, ସେଇ ହଉନି ସେ ଲିଙ୍କ ଟାରେ ଜଏନ କଲେ।
ସେଇଟା ତମକୁ କୋଉଠୁ ମିଳିଲା ଯେ?
ଇମେଲ ଆସିଥିଲା ମେସେଜ ମୋ ପାଖକୁ।
ଇମେଲ ତ ଯୋଉ ଆସିଛି ଶୀତ ମାତ୍ର 2ଟା ସେସନ ପାଇଁ ଆମର ଡିଗ୍ରୀ ପିଲାଙ୍କର ବୋଧେ ବ୍ୟାଚଲର ପିଲାଙ୍କର ଆଇଛି ବୋଧେ ନା କଣ, ସେ ସାରଙ୍କର ମ୍ୟାଡାମଙ୍କର।
ସେଟା ନାହିଁ, ଅନ୍ୟ ମେଲ ବି ଯେତିକି ମୋ ପାଖକୁ ଅଛି ମୁଁ ବି ଚେକ୍
ନା
କରିଛି
ସେଟା ଗୋଟେ
ଦେଖିଲା ବେଳକୁ
ଆସିଥିଲା ମେସେଜ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆସିଛି ମୋ ପାଖକୁ।